does anybody remember the days in Mortal Kombat when Scorpion was evil and Sub-Zero was the good guy? It seems like now wherever you look, Scorpion is being portrayed as the hero or the anti-hero, and Sub-Zero is always evil, and by Sub-Zero I specifically mean Bi-Han. Kuai Liang is portrayed pretty consistently through the course of history, but for some reason Bi-Han is always evil. When did that change take place and why? Because Bi-Han is not inherently an evil character. In the original Mortal Kombat game, both Scorpion and Sub-Zero were just rival ninja clans. Mortal Kombat 2 sort of babyface Sub-Zero made him a good guy with the event of what would become Kuai Liang, and Scorpion becoming sort of like his protector going forward. As it's stated by Mortal Kombat 3, or at least Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Scorpion vowed to protect Sub-Zero being Kuai Liang as a debt to killing Bi-Han. And by Mortal Kombat 4, we've come full circle to where Bi-Han and Sub-Zero sort of have a pact with each other and find some semblance of peace, at least as much as Scorpion's gonna have, because now he's turned his attention from Sub-Zero to Quan Chi. This is all well and good, and this was the beginning of anti-hero Scorpion. But around Shaolin monks, it was revealed that Noob Saibot was the original Sub-Zero, i.e. Bi-Han. Mortal Kombat Armageddon also explains this dynamic when Kuai Liang tells Taven that Noob Saibot was once his brother and he's trying to save him. Noob Saibot obviously being an evil character. So we get it, Noob Saibot is evil, and we understand that Bi-Han as Noob is an evil person. But as Sub-Zero, he still wasn't. Like the appearance of Bi-Han in Mortal Kombat 1, he's not necessarily an evil character. Not the most noble person in the world, but he's not just innately evil. So why suddenly the switch going forward that Bi-Han is always evil? I even feel like in Mortal Kombat 9 this line was sort of toted very well, where Bi-Han was still a bit of a jerk in MK9, but he wasn't exactly evil. But let's step away from the games for a second. Or at least the mainline Mortal Kombat games. Looking back at Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, it's expressed that Sub-Zero has evil in his heart, and for anybody that doesn't know, this game is the entire history of Bi-Han leading up to the first Mortal Kombat tournament, or at least the first game. So this interaction between Raiden and Sub-Zero explains to Bi-Han that he's able to pass through the Netherrealm retaining his body simply because he still has evil in his heart, so he's able to move through. Which makes sense, but I imagine if the roles were reversed and Hanzo was moving through the Netherrealm, it'd be the exact same thing. There is a bit of evil in there just because they haven't really lived noble lives, but they're not necessarily bad people. They're doing what they have to do to survive and for their clan. I mean, they're assassins. But let's not forget that Bi-Han actually saves the realms before the first Mortal Kombat tournament. But then we get stuff like the newer Mortal Kombat cartoons, specifically Scorpion's Revenge, where it shows Bi-Han murdering Scorpion's family. Obviously this didn't happen, this was Quan Chi, but the movie portrays it as if Bi-Han was the one that did it and makes Bi-Han out to be the villain, almost like Quan Chi instructed him to do it. That's not entirely the truth or how it originally took place. The movie's making it a point to babyface Scorpion and make Bi-Han the villain. This is a very odd choice in Mortal Kombat's history, and it could lend itself to why some people are beginning to grow tired of Scorpion always being the face of Mortal Kombat, and they're tired of Sub-Zero always being portrayed as a villain or getting his ass kicked all the time. This is why. Even the brand new 2021 Mortal Kombat movie shows Bi-Han in the very beginning of the movie killing Scorpion's family. Once again, that's not how it took place. Bi-Han never ever just maliciously wanted to kill the Shirai Ryu outside of Scorpion, and there was always a purpose, like Scorpion interrupted the mission that Sub-Zero was on, and their rival clan. Of course he's gonna try to kill Scorpion, he has to fulfill his mission. And before anybody's very quick to just blame NetherRealm and say that NetherRealm's mishandled the story, even the web series for Mortal Kombat that's been developed has sort of done the same thing. While the Mortal Kombat Legacy series, which for the record is not canon, and it does do a decent enough job to show that it was Quan Chi that sort of manipulated Scorpion into thinking that Bi-Han killed his family, it was so easily done for Scorpion to buy that Bi-Han was just this evil murderer that would do such a thing to his family. It's like, that's not who and what Bi-Han is. Why is there this constant portrayal of him as such an evil, just garbage character? Which leads me to Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat 1 has sort of restarted the events of the very first Mortal Kombat, or not even the first Mortal Kombat game, but restarted all of Mortal Kombat history. So it's a brand new timeline with brand new events, which, with the exception of possibly the end of how this mode ends. Once again, I'm sick of the time travel in the Mortal Kombat series, but that's another conversation for another day. I feel like they handled this for the most part pretty well. I'm not mad at the decisions that they made to sort of take Mortal Kombat in a new direction with the story. But one nitpick that I do have is, once again, they're portraying Bi-Han as just this evil character. From the trailers, you could almost tell that Bi-Han was up to no good and was going to betray everyone, but it's like, that's never been the character. And I know we all can just use the excuse, oh, it's a new timeline so the character has new motivations, but like, no one else really does. Katana, for the most part, is still Katana. Shao Kahn is still kinda sorta Shao Kahn. Sindel's still sort of Sindel. Johnny Cage is definitely still Johnny Cage. Even Kenshi has a lot of Kenshi in him. But for whatever reason, Bi-Han is just this evil piece of garbage, and he never was originally. Even his mistreatment of Smoke is insane. I imagine that the original Bi-Han was not that intolerant of Smoke. So why would he be now, especially considering Smoke is his adoptive brother essentially? Like, there's more of a reason for Bi-Han to care about Smoke now than he did in the original timeline, yet in the original timeline they were fine together. Even as Noob Saibot, he was tolerant of Smoke, but for some reason now he's not. On the flip side, Scorpion was always portrayed as evil at all times before they babyfaced him. If we go back to the original Mortal Kombat movie, Scorpion was definitely evil, and this was before we went with the whole Scorpion's been mind controlled from Quan Chi narrative, which was shoehorned into the series around Mortal Kombat 4, or at least Mythology Sub-Zero, same period of time if we're being honest, to sort of use that as the excuse as to why Scorpion is more of an anti-hero than an outright villain. Before that point, Scorpion was just always innately evil. I mean, he was a ninja specter from hell. There's nothing really noble or good about that, but they've sort of babyfaced that character going forward. And I honestly don't have a problem with that, but this sort of lends me to the period in time where there was that switch between Scorpion always being heroic and Bi-Han always being a villain. And I have to point that, honestly, around the Mortal Kombat Legacy series and MKX. Like I said before, Mortal Kombat 9 still did a pretty decent job of holding true to Scorpion and Sub-Zero, even between Bi-Han and Kuai Liang. But Mortal Kombat Legacy had this need to portray Scorpion as this loving family man, whereas we never ever get a glimpse of Bi-Han and his family dynamics. And then Mortal Kombat X outright gives us a sort of heroic comeback for Scorpion as the leader of the brand new resurrected Shirai Ryu. Well, I shouldn't say resurrected, but you know what I mean. He brought the clan back. Scorpion as Hanzo is looked more as a babyface and a good guy than he ever has at any other time in history. And as a result, that started the different medias and forms for Mortal Kombat to sort of portray Bi-Han as this evil guy when he never really was. Looking at the first Mortal Kombat movie, the second movie, the games, both sort of Shaolin Monks and Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, the TV show, the Saturday morning cartoon, no matter where you looked, Scorpion was always evil. And the fans loved him for it. They loved evil Scorpion. I dare say they still love Scorpion more than they love Hanzo. This Hanzo stuff just being a recent thing that has been reintroduced into the Mortal Kombat series. But I feel like we're getting to a point to where it's getting way too far to where Hanzo Hasashi is this good, great, noble character, and Bi-Han has just always been this evil piece of garbage. Somehow we need to get a handle of this, and in materials for Mortal Kombat going forward, we have to accurately start getting to a place to where Bi-Han is portrayed as a good guy with some rather so-so morals, and Scorpion as a much more darker character than he's being portrayed in a lot of these mediums. Specifically Hanzo, because let's not kid ourselves, as much as Hanzo is portrayed as a family man, he's still a ninja. He's an assassin at the end of the day. He's a murderer. He's just about as noble as Bi-Han is, or lack thereof, in terms of nobility. So being honest, if I have to pinpoint the time frame where this switch happened, it would have to be somewhere in the mid-2010s, where we full-on started babyfacing Scorpion and we made Bi-Han to be the heel. Kuai Liang has sort of always been portrayed as he should be, which is weird now considering he's Scorpion, but once again that's a debate for another day. But we also have to understand that the portrayal of Bi-Han is not really accurately being done to the lore of Mortal Kombat at this point. And they've taken Bi-Han in a very weird direction from what he initially was in the lore. Honestly, I would advise any Mortal Kombat fan, if you haven't, and I have a video on this, even though the audio quality is not necessarily the greatest, but I do have a video breaking this down. But I would advise any and all Mortal Kombat fans to check out Mortal Kombat Genesis, which is a webcomic that was done on the lore of the first Mortal Kombat tournament. That has possibly the greatest portrayal of Bi-Han as Sub-Zero that I think I've ever seen in any Mortal Kombat medium, and this was a fan service, which you could make the argument that the fans understand and handle the lore of Mortal Kombat better than some of the creators do at this point anyways. But that's another conversation that needs to be held at a different time. But anyways, I would love to know your guys' opinion on how you feel like the dynamic between Bi-Han and Hanzo, or Scorpion and the original Sub-Zero, has been handled throughout the history of Mortal Kombat. And leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And you all have a good one, and I'm out.